Hi everyone, welcome back for part 2 of testing TikTok mug cake recipes. For the red velvet mug cake, you'll need some sugar, oil, milk, flour, baking powder, cocoa powder, red food coloring, and of course, a mug and a spoon. Now you're going to take a third cup of flour, a half a tablespoon of cocoa powder, and a half a teaspoon of baking powder and add them to your mug. Next, add 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar and mix together. To this, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of oil and a quarter cup of milk. Once you've fully incorporated your oil and your milk, you're going to add a few drops of red food coloring. Once you're happy with the red color, you want to place this in the microwave for 90 seconds. Okay everyone, in the first video I used pretty tall mugs, but since they only filled up about half the mug, I decided to use shorter ones for this one, and as you could tell, that was not a good idea. I highly recommend using some larger mugs when making these cakes, otherwise you'll end up with a situation like this. To finish off the red velvet mug cake, you're going to take some vanilla or cream cheese frosting, spread that on top, and then I just added some of the leftover red velvet batter that spilled over the mug into the microwave, crumbled it up, and added it on top of the frosting. Now for the taste test of the red velvet cake, red velvet is not my favorite flavor cake at all, so I wouldn't be the best judge of how it compares to other recipes. But when I gave it to other people who really like red velvet, they thought it was delicious and it was their favorite mug cake out of all of them. So if you're a fan of red velvet, then I would definitely give this a try. Now for the last flavor mug cake I'm going to show you, you're going to need some oil and milk, some flour, baking powder, sugar, sprinkles, and of course a mug and a spoon. Place a third of a cup of flour and a half a teaspoon of baking powder into your mug. Then again, you want to add 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar and mix this together. To that, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of oil and a quarter cup of milk. Lastly, you're going to add your sprinkles. The recipe called for only a teaspoon of sprinkles, but I figured you can never have too many sprinkles, and it is a funfetti cake after all, so I ended up adding about 2.5 teaspoons of sprinkles to this recipe. Once you're happy with the amount of sprinkles, you want to place this in the microwave for 90 seconds. This funfetti one, just like the red velvet one, overflowed a little bit as well into the microwave, so like I suggested before, I would highly recommend using a taller mug when making these mug cakes. To finish off this funfetti mug cake, I just added some vanilla frosting and sprinkles. Now for the funfetti taste test, I mean, it's classic, it's vanilla with sprinkles, you definitely can't go wrong. I think it's really good for young children, especially who might not necessarily like the more advanced flavors like carrot cake or cinnamon cake, and obviously it's the simplest one to make with the least amount of ingredients. So I would definitely try this out, but if you're someone who likes to explore and try out different flavors, then I would highly recommend testing one of the other flavors. Okay everyone, for my final review, these all blew me away. They were super delicious, all moist, all fluffy, all soft, tasted amazing, were super easy and simple to make, and I would highly recommend. Now for some pointers, like I said before, I would definitely make sure that you're using a tall mug and not a short mug unless you want it to overflow in your microwave. And also make sure when you're mixing it to really incorporate all the dry ingredients from the bottom so that you don't end up with a spoonful of flour at the end. Now for my personal ranking of these mug cakes, I asked several other people to try them and got very different reviews, so definitely I would try all of them before just trusting my opinion. But my personal favorite was the cinnamon one, then the carrot cake, then the red velvet, and then the funfetti. There was nothing wrong with any of them, and the funfetti is delicious, but it was a little bit plain and boring for my taste compared to the other ones, and I think the cinnamon one, especially with the topping, just blew me away, and that is one that I will definitely be making many times again.